Says, hey babe, take a walk on the wild side. Said,
Regarding Lulu.
What do they call Lou Reed fans? Other than dude.
I guess it's just like
welcome.
Cool Guy Club or something.
Cool Guy Club. Okay. Hello, all you Metallica cats and Cool Guy Club members. We're trying to figure out what to call folks who are fans of Lou Reed, but hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second episode of Regarding Lulu. I'm Chaz Charles, your co-host, along with Greg Wolf. Greg, you want to say hello?
How you doing?
Good to be back, man. You
Doing
had a good couple of weeks here?
Yeah. Good to be back with you. Yeah, I'm ready to do this.
Ready to do this, huh? Were you hungover after the first experience? Was there a little bit of Lulu, like, what have I done? Did you wake up the next day and go, oh shit?
No, definitely not. It was a good experience. Felt good about it. And as you know, I think you as well did a little more research, a little more background
I
over the
did.
past couple of weeks and immersed ourselves even deeper into the world of Wedekind and Lulu. And no, I'm chomping at the bit for track two.
All
Ready
right,
to
man.
go.
Wow, chomping at the
Fired
bit.
up.
That is not something that most people say about this record, Greg, at all. Chomping at the bit for
You know,
anything.
and I think it's well, I mean, we had such a good time, I think, on episode one. At least I did. I think you did
Oh,
too.
yeah. Sure, I did as well.
And so we're excited about the podcast and the topic. Yeah, I can see how people who maybe came at this album the way you did when it was released would not be chomping at the bit after hearing track one.
Yeah.
That's probably not the word that you would have used after experiencing track one of this potentially masterpiece, as some have referred to it, but others not so favorably, I guess, in the
if it's a masterpiece, Greg, it's going to be one of those masterpieces that comes creeping along in the night and establishes itself before you even knew what happened. Because this is not overt.
I'm good. How are you feeling about things? I'm good.
Well, I'm all right, but it brought up a lot of memories. But first, let's do this, Greg. We've got some news to share about our little podcast.
Yeah.
So let's clear some house cleaning items before we get into resuming the conversation. I want to start by saying a big thank you to our friends in the Deep Dive Podcast Network who have taken us in under their wings and made us a part of the official club. So we will enumerate lists of podcasts that we're joining into the esteemed company of a little later. But folks at the Deep Purple Podcast, there's, of course, my friends over at And the Podcast Will Rock, and gosh, there are about 20 others, and we'll go through all of them, but we are now part of an extended family of podcasters. So I wanted to thank everybody for joining us on this journey, those that have joined us with the network, and those that have been commenting out on our Twitter feed. We've had some interaction over the last couple of weeks. It's been a lot of fun. We've had some folks that are really getting pretty intellectual about this pursuit. Kind of like you were saying, Greg, people are looking at the way we came into this and like, gosh, I never thought of it that way. And wow, let me take a look. And I'm starting to hear, people make calls, linking the work to other things like Lolita, other types of other Broadway plays. I mean, I'm getting some feedback that I quite frankly didn't expect. Again, just being a metalhead. Talking Frank Wedekind shows.
To the Lolita book, is that what you said? The Nabokov book, Lolita?
Yeah, exactly. I'm here. There are some people that are saying, "Wow, I didn't really realize Wedekind and his influence in the early theater." And I got an email that gave me a few points to look at in terms of tying back some literary references.
You know who you probably know this, Chaz, but who was influenced by the Lolita story, which other famous rock musician
The
was
Lolita story. No, I don't, Greg. Who?
well, yeah, I think you do, because I think you're a fan of the Police, right?
Oh,
Sting
of
and those guys.
course. Yes.
You know the song "Don't Stand So
That
Close to Me," right?
that book by Nabokov. I
The
think
book
I
by
know it. Yeah.
Nabokov. So
That's
uh,
right.
I think that was when Sting was teaching. I don't know if he was teaching English, but he was a school teacher before he became a international rock star.
That's
And
right.
so I don't know if that was from personal experience or just a something that he created out of fictional accounting. But
Our listener, the Sully man, was chiming in with some literary references that I'm going to have to go check out, and I'll whip those out at some point here, because I do want to actually revisit the discussion we were having a little bit last week, where you were thinking maybe we should bring in some other musical influences and kind of check them out and see if we're kind of hearing the same things, right? I think that's definitely something we'll want to do as the podcast progresses, because this is a journey, we're learning, and we're going to try different things as we go along, because our format's a little different. And I've gotten that feedback too from some of the folks on the network. They think we're endeavoring into a noble act here
are we
of
breaking some
spinning up
ground? We're breaking some new ground.
it's a podcast mini series is the way it's being described, Greg. So people are like, wow, it's really great of you to invest in something that's going to have such a limited shelf life. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, actually. But I mean, I think this. I've also gotten some good ideas on where perhaps the podcast could extend if we decide it wants to go somewhere. After Lulu, there are plenty of works like this that are, maybe not the most subtle or pedestrian listen, but something that's a little more arduous, a little more in our world of having to train up and sit and
Do our
endure.
homework.
So yeah, there are certainly works that we could call endurance types of events that perhaps we can find another one, or someone had the interesting idea to do these mashups, try and find other albums that are mashups of artists and just have that be a series.
Unlikely folks who got together and made music together. Yeah,
right,
there's certainly a lot of that out there
exactly,
to look
right,
into.
those oddball collaborations.
Oddball, that's
And
a great way to put
yeah,
it here.
so I think perhaps there's a future for the podcast beyond what we do with Lulu, but
We can
it's
only
really
hope,
funny
right?
too. What's that, Greg?
We can only hope that there's a future.
We can only hope. And you know what? And again, being the fair guys that we are, because if we're nothing but fair, right? If we're nothing at all,
we're nothing if not fair.
We're nothing if not fair. We're nothing, but okay. I got to get the semantics of that right. But with the idea that we're entering into something and boldly going into this venture and not knowing the outcome, for me it's all about the journey. So I don't care where we end up, quite frankly. For me this is fun, just kind of diving in and dissecting, and when I'm looking at these lyrics on the screen here today and I'm looking at what we have to share, I'm eager to dive right into it. How about you?
I was eager right
you were
when
there.
you flipped the microphone on.
I know.
So yes.
I totally hijacked it. So, all right, I'm going to bring it right back around. Hey, guess what? So, it's kind of timely that we're doing this. And I didn't do this for this reason. We didn't have this conversation because Metallica is coming out with a new record. But here they are all these years later, and they've got a new record coming out. It's basically, right now they're kind of in the, I'd say the pre-publicity for the release. It's going to come out in April. I think it's called something like 72 stories, 72
seasons.
72 seasons. And the cut that they just dropped called If Darkness Had a Sun, and it's Metallica in all its glory. So they've been dropping, I think this is the third track from the album that has dropped, but give a listen to this real quick, Greg. This is the band we're talking about. MTV video setup. Very classic Metallica. Very serious. Yeah, they tend to go into the long intros, but that is classic Metallica sound. And I got to tell you, so there are 3 tracks that have dropped off of this. This one, If Darkness Had a Sun. There's another track called Screaming Suicide. And then the one that came out that's my favorite, Lux Eterna. And essentially, each one of these songs is like, if you kind of, it's like a different peek into the different eras of the Metallica sound. It's really cool. So it's a current record, but each one I can harken back to, like Lux Eterna to me sounds like that period right in between Master of Puppets and Justice for All. Screaming Suicide, If Darkness Had a Sun. Screaming Suicide sounds more like the later works of Load, Reload, that period. I wasn't really a big fan then. It was kind of in my period when I was away from the band. But this one, If Darkness Had a Sun, very clearly sounds like where they were with And Justice for All. And I think it was my friend Mark over at the Van Halen podcast and the podcast Will Rock, who made the note of pointing out that there are certain sets of Metallica fans like any other band. Whereas Van Halen is very much polarized. You got the Roth fans and you have the Hagar fans, and then everyone loves Gary Sharon, right? Yeah, that Van Halen 3. Oh yeah, that happened or not, whatever. Apologies to Gary. But there's a Metallica club too, and there's basically like guys like me who grew up with, as we described, right, being a tape trader, being somebody who was into them as they were underground and crossing over into the commercial. Basically kind of love affair stopped at And Justice for All. And then from there, they went on to be massively commercially successful with the Black Album and with Load and Reload, and even the collaboration they did with I believe it was the San Francisco Symphony, which was called S&M, which was actually one of my favorite records. Metallica paired up with a symphony orchestra, because the music really lends itself to that. Unlike this mashup that we're kind of diving into here, lush orchestration behind Metallica definitely enhances the music, whereas Lou Reed
not so much of an oddball.
Not so much of Lou Reed over the top, right? Like you were saying, well, because of Lou's style, and and this is one of the things too. So I went back and started listening to some of the earlier Lou Reed records, and you're absolutely right, Greg, with his vocal approach, right? So the music very much supports having Lou right out front, and it's got enough room that he can be himself and be the focal point. But this thing that we're experiencing so far, like what we did last week with Brandenburg Gate, you're right. Lou just gets lost. In that first song, he was totally lost in the shuffle and the clutter and the cacophony of sound that is Metallica behind him. So going to be really interesting to see where the second track goes today. But just to say that, things are timely. Metallica is still out there, still producing great music. You could listen to this new record and think they're, at the top of their game. So Lou's no longer around to join us, but these guys are still here. They're still relevant. So hopefully we don't piss anybody off with our analysis. We're just, again, right, a couple of guys being as fair as we can be, because we are what? We're nothing if we're not fair. How does it go?
Yeah, something like that. You were going to check the syntax.
I don't know. Yeah, all right. So, Greg, without further ado, I wanna get into the track. I can see I'm boring you.
No. This is great stuff, and certainly I'm sure we'd be happy to have the good folks of Metallica come and join us on the podcast anytime if they wanted to add some additional color and perspective to this work of theirs.
You know what? And I think that would be great. Once we get through the whole thing and we've kind of figured out where we're at on this piece of work, we can have them come in and discuss this piece.
It's an open invitation, I think.
Of work. Yes. Okay. All right. Well, Greg, I got to start off by being fully transparent. And this probably won't be the first time you hear this. So hang around long enough and you'll hear it every day. But I was wrong. So Lou Reed and Metallica did have a single off of this record. Last show, we thought, gosh, yeah, no way. You can't approach this album, as a one-off. Can't look at each individual track. And there were no singles. I said it. Well, guess what? There was a single. It was a single, and it's called The View, and there's an official music video. So mercifully, the music video comes in at 3 minutes 45. I think we saw the album track itself for this track number 2 comes in at a little over 5 minutes. So today we're going to use the video just because, we're very visual people. We need to be engaged as we're recording audio. So, Greg, we're going to go through the video, and we'll go through the lyrics, and we will see where we come out on the official single from Lulu,
which happens to be track 2.
Metallica. What's that?
Which happens to be track 2 on the
track 2
on the record.
And here we are.
Yeah.
All right. Without further ado, should I hit it?
Hit it.
Right. Here we go. The View. Lou looks tired.
Chorus of the voices that gather up the magnets set before me. I attract you and repel you, a science of the heart and blood and meaning. I want you on the floor and in a coffin, your soul shaking. I want to have you doubting every meaning you've amassed like a fortune. Oh, throw it away for worship someone who actively despises you. For worship someone who actively despises you. I am the root.
Okay, so the video version starts off pretty brooding here. It's black and white. We're getting Lou. He's tired. This is 2 years before he died, right? So he's kind of old. He's in his 70s. But he looks really tired. The band is set up. They're playing live. So they're all playing in this together here. And what are they saying? I am a chorus of the voices that gather up the magnets set before me. I attract you and repel you. A science of the heart and blood and meaning. The coldness. Now you see here, I don't know, Greg, we might have to go to the album track. It looks like they're cutting a lot out.
Yeah, the lyrics did not.
They really did. This is almost like a bait and switch. Wait a minute. All right, because he jumps. Let's see, guys. So he stopped really at the meaning, right? Because then it was the coldness, didn't say any of that, got all the way down here. Your life of reason, I want you on the floor and in a coffin, your soul shaking. I want to have you doubting every meaning you've amassed like a fortune. Oh man, I think we have to go to the album track because we're trying to tie back to this play, right? We're trying to tie back to the source material and see the inspiration. And I'm reading a lot of the Lulu narrative up in the story.
They needed to do a bit of a rework to get it into a single format and get it up, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what didn't work in the single.
But we're purists.
But we are. If we're nothing, we're
nothing if not purists.
Okay. Or fairly purist in nature. I know I'm a pacifist. Say something I don't like, I'm gonna pass this fist to your face. But that's just me. Right. So let's see.
That's funny, Chaz.
You like that?
That's good stuff. So there's a little bit of comedy.
Little bit, not much.
Not much.
I mean, because they can't see us. If they could see us, that would be worth $1 million. All right. So we're gonna see what
I attract you and repel you.
It's the single version.
A science of the heart and blood and meaning. The coldest of most beauties is a challenge that our youth must quickly conquer. There is no time for guilt or second guessing based on feelings.
The coldness of most beauties is a challenge that our youth must quickly conquer. There's no time for guilt or second guessing based on feeling. Okay, I'm feeling Lulu here.
I was feeling Lulu, Chaz, in the second section of this verse where he says, "I attract you and repel you," because I think that's a lot of the Lulu character, right? Yep. She's beautiful and she attracts all these men, but then there's this this other side that's very dark and dangerous.
Yeah.
And there's the heart and there's the blood, literal blood, right? I mean, there's violence and guns and gunshots and stabbing and
yep.
There's a lot of violence and blood. So, but a lot of attraction.
Yeah, and the coldness of most beauties is a challenge that our youth must quickly conquer. So it's like well, man, I'm seeing
you have to resist her beauty. Is that it?
Is it resist your beauty, or is it that you have to twist your own beauty?
Good question.
The challenge that our youth must quickly conquer. The conquering must be done by the youth of their beautiful nature is the kind of way I'm reading that. Wow, that's deep. Oh my gosh. Where's my weed? Hold on. I'm not equipped for this. All right. Let's keep going.
I am the truth, the beauty that causes you to cross your sacred boundaries.
What a line. I am so just what you said, right? Attract, repulse, the truth, the beauty that causes you to cross the sacred boundaries. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
these men, right, in Lulu's life.
Yeah.
They at one point, the Dr. Schoen character, we talked a little bit in episode 1 about some of the different characters, right? And that character, he definitely was, he was going to marry another woman, a respectable woman, because Lulu was not that. And so he definitely ended up crossing some boundaries and to end up with Lulu.
He absolutely did. And as we see a little later on, as we were kind of talking about, his undoing, right? All of these men.
I have no morals, some think me cheap, and someone who despises the normalcy of heartbreak, the purity of love. But I worship the young and just formed angel who sits upon the pin of lust. Everything else bores me. I want to see your suicide. I want to see you give it up.
Oh, I'm remembering this song. Yeah. Wow. Whoa. But I worship the young and just formed angel who sits upon the pin of lust. Oh man, that's purient. That's just terrible. That's pervert right there. Everything else bores me. I want to see your suicide. I want to see you give it up. Oh my gosh.
And I don't, certainly there's some tight references or we see that in the Lulu plays where Dr. Schoen at one point tries to get Lulu to kill herself.
You're right.
Before Lulu turns the gun back on him. So I don't know if in this, in Lou's mind, he's thinking when he says, "I want to see your suicide," is he thinking about Dr. Schoen wants to see Lulu's suicide or who's talking, who's the speaker in this section? It's hard. It's right. A little unclear, what the point of view is here. Because Dr. Schoen, as we know, Chaz, is a much older character. Lulu is a young woman, and Dr. Schoen is an older man who has a son, Alva, right, who is probably more like Lulu's age, even a little older than Lulu. So Dr. Schoen is quite a bit older, but does he worship the young?
You know what? And I think you're onto something there, because I'm just reading through this now, and it does look like it's a back and forth. Yeah. So I have no morals. Some think me cheap, and someone who despises the normalcy of heartbreak, the purity of love. That's Lulu.
That is Lulu talking. No
and
question.
Then the doctor, but I worship the young, just formed angel who sits on the pin of lust. Everything else bores me. I want to see your suicide. I want to see you give it up. I want to see you, give it all to me, essentially. Yeah. That's obsessive, right? You can see it. It kind of twists immediately. Yeah, this is interesting. All right. I'm digging it.
Cool.
Your life of reason. I want you on the floor, and in a coffin, your soul shaking. I want to have you downing every meaning you've amassed, like a fortune.
Yeah, that's her talking to him.
So it seems like it flipped back again, right? It was Lulu, then the doctor, and then Lulu again.
Yep.
And she does put him in a coffin.
She gets him on the floor too. I mean, yeah, I'm actually seeing the play. This is really funny. It's kind of adding that context, that you don't get when you're reading a play. Or for me, reading a play is reading a dialogue, and I have to remember the setting. And I'm so frequently kind of losing that. Like when I was going through, it was hard for me. I had to keep remembering, okay, they're in a room, there's a door. I mean, trying to remember the setup and everything. But this, I don't know why. I don't know what Lou is doing, but he is painting a very vivid picture for me of what all that play looked like. It's really great. I mean, I, in full transparency, watched the silent movie in the last 2 weeks as well. So, Greg, were you able to watch Pandora's Box?
I was from 1929, silent movie.
What did you think?
Well, it was really interesting, even just watching a silent movie like that, and remembering what that was like with when they were right at the beginning of movie making.
Sure.
But it was pretty. It certainly helped to know the play a bit and be able to follow from that standpoint. So, because they don't give you all that much, as you know, in that silent movie, there's very little of the dialogue that's put on the screen from the characters compared to what you would get in the play, all the dialogue that they speak and all that. So it definitely helped pull it together a little more. And I thought the actress that played Lulu was very effective.
Oh man, yeah, she was a little too effective for my taste. I tell you what. No, I'm kidding. But the way that what struck me was the way they needed to convey those ideas silently, right? And how they did it with their eyes, with the look, with the transition, with the select text that they chose to set the story up as it progressed. Very interesting, but set it up much differently in my mind than the play in my mind when I was reading it. So it was really kind of interesting to see how it came across on the screen versus what I was thinking. And now Lou is just adding another dimension to it. And this one, arguably, just the words, more powerful in combination with the what was written in the play. From my POV, simple POV. All right, let's move along.
Oh, throw it away for worship someone who actively despises you. For worship someone who actively despises you. I am the root. I am the progress. I'm the aggressor. I am the tablet. These 10 stories. Worship. Pain and evil have their place sitting here beside me. I offer them to you as servants of the gold that you must give. Pain and evil have their place sitting here beside me, and I'll offer them I offer them to you as servants of the gold that you must give to me.
Oh man. All right, so I'm digging the music. I am definitely digging the dirge that's kind of going on behind there. And I do think that this works a hell of a lot more under Lou Reed's voice than that last track. So whatever they were trying to do, it definitely came across, I think, a little bit stronger as a concept here. The whole slam poetry over Metallica, right? That concept, it's working here.
Totally. I don't know if also, you know, our brains and our heads kind of started to hear it a little bit more, what they were doing, just by having that a little more time with, you know, listening to track one on the first episode, and that we were able to process this a little better, maybe a little of both. But I agree that at this point, the vocals and the music are working much better, in a much better way, more powerful way than you know. I think we both felt like Lou's vocals were just sort of a mishmash inside of the music that the band was playing on track one. So here it's much clearer, right, and strong. The music,
well, I think because the arrangement behind him is sparse, like you were talking about, like what really works for him with the spoken word arrangements is having sparse musical arrangements behind him, and what they're doing isn't too cluttered, right? It's very straightforward. Dun, dun, dun. It's just kind of setting that mood. So it's not competing. It's not trying to be a song. It's like mood music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so question for you. Did something happen? Did the metallic vocalist take over there?
He did.
In that I am the root, I am the progress.
He did.
Section. Okay.
The agitator, the tablet.
That did not sound to me
again?
like Lou's voice at that point.
Yeah, it definitely was not. That was James Hetfield coming in.
Okay.
So yeah, trying to figure that out, right? So Lou is saying, for worship someone who actively despises you, for worship someone who actively despises you. So that's still, that to me is Lulu, right? But now you got James coming in. I'm the root, the progress, the aggressor, the tablet, these 10 stories. Is that a third? Is that human nature? Is that lust? Is that, you know, is that the elephant?
Maybe that's why they flipped it to James for that.
Yeah, because like, you know, Lou was doing both parts, right?
Lou was doing the two characters, but maybe this is sort of an outside voice.
I think this is like maybe overarching theme coming in, like, you know, the root of all evil. It's not money. I don't know. These 10 stories, don't know where that's going.
Is that the 10 tracks or the 10
Certainly
stories?
doesn't rhyme. Well, at this point, yeah, I mean, the collection is 10 stories. And so if that's it, if he's referring to each one of these, perhaps, don't know.
Perhaps. Maybe all will be revealed as we move through the album. Or not.
More, or not all, because hey, we're, you know what, and you know, to be honest, I'm just in this to be fair and balanced and honest and accurate, like Fox News.
We're along for the
Did I say that?
Definitely that, and we're along for the ride here with Lou and Metallica. Really.
We are. All right, we got to be careful to avoid the politics. We could lose audience that way. Okay, so we are nothing but fair, honest, and balanced.
We are neutral arbiters of the music.
Oh, bullshit. We're as biased as can be. I came in saying this is the biggest piece of shit on the face of the earth. Okay. So, you know.
Well, one of us is neutral. One of us
Okay,
came in neutral.
You're much more balanced and rational.
And I wanted to share my neutrality with you, but you won't allow it, I guess.
Well,
I'm Switzerland.
I was going to say, damn Swiss, you know, get off the bench, man. Come on.
One of my good friends, Chaz from college, his uncle is a heavy metal musician from Switzerland.
No shit.
Yeah. What's the name?
Wow. What is that like?
The band is called, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called the Lombego Surfers.
The Lombego Surfers. All right, we're gonna have to check them out. Basel. The Lombego Surfers
from Basel.
How do you spell that?
I think it's LOMBEGO. B-A.
You know, it doesn't matter with Google.
Something like
Come
that.
on. Lombego.
E-G-O. There we go.
Yeah, EGO, the Lombego Surfers.
From Basel.
From Basel. They are the hardest working voodoo rock punkers. All right. They're punkers. I love it.
Yeah, that's my friend's uncle on the left. That's Tony.
No shit.
Yeah, Tony Thomas.
That's so cool. All right. Lombego Surfers. Sorry, we're going on a little sidetrack here because it's our podcast and we can do that. Let's see what we got. We're spinning up a video right now.
Hey girl, when you move that way, I really miss it. Oh yeah, when you talk like that, I really miss it.
Oh man. Oh, that's a whole other podcast. I love that sound. Oh my God. That's excellent. And these guys are our age, man. Wow, they're hitting it. That's awesome.
They're actually
Lombego
older.
Surfers.
Yeah, they're older. That guy Tony is my friend's uncle.
That's great.
My college buddy, who's my age. He's about he's only about 8 days younger than me. We're very close in age.
That's cool. You know, and I'm hearing some music there. So they're in Switzerland. I'm hearing that could be easily translated into Greenwich Village in the early 70s, early 80s. They could have been hanging out with Lou. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Lombego Surfers. All right. Well, thanks for introducing us to some new music.
Yeah, well, you brought up Switzerland. No, I brought it up, but you were thinking it.
I was. And funny how we get to these places. I don't know, Greg, how we get to these places that we do, but we did. And now we have to go back.
We do what we do.
Lulu is waiting.
Back to Lou.
Back to Lou with Lulu
Yeah.
and James and the boys. Lars, the guy Lars. All right. Let's go.
Now you're doing voices. Okay.
We're going back in. I
good.
know. We're digressing big time.
We're regressing
Regressing. Yeah.
and digressing.
We are all about regression, aren't we, Craig?
A lot of
Forget
gressing.
about the models. We're just
There's a lot of
personally
gressing going on.
regressive. Yes. Yeah, we're
Of all
regressive in
sorts.
so many ways. But what are we learning from and how are we growing and how are we applying this?
That's what's
like
important.
Machines to learn.
I want to see you suicide. I want to see you give it up, your life of reason. I want to see you on the floor. And in a coffin, soul shaking.
All right. So that was perhaps the worst use of a tremolo I think I've ever heard in a song. I don't know what that was other than just a couple of low guttural kind of moans coming out of the guitar there. It was weird.
Soul shaking. I want to have you doubting every meaning you've amassed like a fortune, throw it away for worship of someone who actively despises you. I am the view.
But back to James.
I am the table. I am the view. I am the table. I am all this. I am the root, the progress, the aggressor. I am the table. I am the 10 stories. I am the table. I am.
right. I have a hard time interrupting Kirk with his solos, man. That is classic Metallica. So the statico dun dun dun, kind of start stops in the song there, and the blistering Kirk just throws notes at solos, and that's what he has always done, even prior to his days in Metallica. And so that's classic Metallica coming through in there. I really liked that passage. How about you?
Yeah, I liked it.
I saw your head banging. I saw your head banging.
Yeah. I was feeling it. And as we kind of explained it at the outset of this enterprise, you're the Metallica fan of this team here, this duo. Yeah, I was so I haven't spent a lot of time listening to Metallica, but yeah, I thought musically, like we said before, the whole tune was pretty effective, and a much tighter groove going, and that's a much stronger, musically it felt like
Yes,
behind this, and
you're right. There was a
yeah,
groove in this song. I can't say Brandenburg Gate had a groove. There
no,
was a groove in this.
yeah, it was more of a dirge. The other one,
Yeah,
I
it
guess,
really was. Yeah.
it was a lot of noise. Probably, I'm sure intentionally. I mean, that's how they wanted to launch and open the gate, right? To
Yeah,
us.
and son of a bitch, if it wasn't an earworm, Greg. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, tell me you didn't hear "Small Town Girl"
Yeah,
in your head a
exactly.
couple times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since
Can't get
you
rid of
know,
that.
and then there's this weird thing that happens with me as well, right? When the stuff starts getting when I get an earworm, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll start taking on its own life and become another song if it's like that pervasive. And that
Mm-hmm.
happened with Brandenburg Gate. I actually started singing a different song with like that melody,
Yeah.
kind of underneath it. So it was kind of weird. I totally hated it. I mean, I was really like, nope, there's nothing about this that appeals to me. But in this weird private world of my headspace, when attached to an earworm, and it went someplace weird and kind of wonderful. So I can't say yet that I'm there with it. I'm not, as a piece of work by itself. But as I've thought about it more, and as there's been a little bit of time between this first track and now this track, I'm appreciating it a little. Here we are. I'm 1,000% ahead in terms of appreciating it versus where I was when I first heard it. Okay,
Yeah.
so definitely not of the mind that it's
Were you Chaz in a space when you first heard this album? How many years ago is it that it was?
it's gonna be like 12
2011. So
years. Yeah.
almost, yeah, 11, 12 years. Were you in a space where, like, on this track two that we're listening to today, that you could appreciate some of that music that Metallica was making behind Lou Reed, and maybe this instrumental section with the guitar solo at the end? Was that something you think you might have appreciated a little bit when you first listened to it?
You know what? I don't know that I did necessarily, for the simple reason that at that time, Metallica was, they, like I said, they were past an era. I mean, by that point, they had done a bunch of records that I wasn't like all in on, right? So I knew the hits from some of the later stuff. And like I said, the S&M work I loved, but that was basically all of Metallica's hits just over a symphony. But the newer work that they were doing at that time, I wasn't a huge fan of. I mean, like, there were songs that made the radio that were more, kind of commercial pop metal feel to them. But
More
this
like a
one,
Def Leppard kind of a sound going?
well, no, not quite like Def Leppard. They were never that poppy, but poppy as far as Metallica can go with pop. And I can give you some examples of that. Like,
Okay.
there's a song "Fuel." Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Very much like on, you see it on television for, like on ESPN 1, 2, 3, 4, through 552. Every channel, that's doing some kind of stock car racing is going to use fuel, right? And like, there's certain songs. Enter Sandman is on every damn sport event you can imagine, right? I mean, they during that period, they came up with a lot of commercial stuff, and this music sounds very similar to that. So I
Mm.
can't say at that time that this was pulling me in necessarily, because I didn't give it the time. This was, again, I think I only listened to it like one and a half times. I went through it and it was like, okay, that's familiar. Yep, that's Metallica there. So they were easily identified. But
Right.
like, was I like grabbing onto it saying, oh, that's a groove I could bang my head to? No way.
Yeah. And yeah, that's what I figured, because to get to that, even to get to that instrumental section at the end, I mean, there's all this crazy Lou Reed vocal stuff
You gotta sit
happening,
through
which
it,
you're like,
right?
you know, you have to you know, you're so distracted probably by like this crazy Lou Reed vocal stuff happening, like what is going on, that like there's no way you're in a frame of mind to appreciate that instrumental section by the time it comes, right?
Right. No, because you just sat through pain and evil have their place sitting here beside me. I offer them to you as servants of the gold that you must give. Pain and evil have
Now
their
let me
place
stop you
sitting
there,
here
Chaz.
beside me.
Can I
Yeah.
stop you there? To me,
Yeah.
being someone who is not well steeped in the metal genre, that sounds like pretty straight ahead lyrics for a sort of a metal song. Pain and evil have their place sitting here beside me. I offer them as servants of the gold that you must give. No,
You know
am I
what?
wrong there?
You are not wrong. And in fact, I would even, well, I say that. Isn't that funny? I've noticed too, listening to our first podcast, I say certainly a lot. I say, as a matter of fact, a lot. I notice all these
Mm,
little things that I'm trying not to do this
your
episode. So
vocal
if you hear me
ticks.
say things like, certainly, Greg, or, as a matter of fact, trying to stop that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we don't sound our age. All right, because this one, yeah, it's a banger, huh? I still have a hard time saying it's a banger, but anyway, um, yeah. So very metal in its composition, and I would even say that it almost sounds like maybe James helped him here. So we could at some point, that would be an interesting exploration. Go look at some Metallica lyrics
Mm,
because this I could
hmm.
certainly see something like this on Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
Evil, have their
Okay.
backs, sit here beside me. Offer them your servants. I
Yeah.
could totally see James Hetfield delivering this in a Metallica format, with
Yeah,
their
this totally, and
bumpers.
maybe in when Lou was conceiving of this work, what happened is he was, this is a dark story in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of violence to it, and he thought, wow, some of this really almost sounds to me like more of a metal genre. The way these lyrics are coming together, that this doesn't work with sort of my typical rock, R&B type of groove that I normally
You
Lou
think when
Reed
he's sitting down
normally.
there in his loft on Bleecker Street,
Yeah, he's
he's
like, I
like,
don't
"Oh,
know what
this is fucking Metallica,
this is.
man,
Yeah, this is metal I'm writing, I think. When
dude."
pain and evil have their place sitting here beside me, I offer them to you as servants of the
Can't you
gold that you
just
must
hear the
give.
tuh, tuh,
He's
tuh,
like,
tuh, tuh?
I'm writing a Metallica song here. I gotta call up James.
I gotta call my brothers out in the West Coast for some
Yeah.
West Coast styling, some
I wonder,
metal.
what do you think of that what do you think of that hypothesis,
I
Chaz?
think you might be on to something, man, or you're on something. One of the two.
Maybe Lou, had his guitar out and he was strumming his normal rock bluesy R&B type of grooves, and he's like, this is totally the wrong feel for this kind of
You
top.
think he's talking suicide? He's talking blood. He's talking coffins.
I mean, he goes to dark places, I
I
think,
was
with
gonna
his.
say, doesn't he have a history, Greg, of writing some
He
pretty
does,
cool
yeah, he
stuff?
does, but different, in a different way,
Okay.
and sort of, so some of this, just some of the way these lyrics have come out, to me, I'm seeing that this is, he could have
I
gone
want
that
to
way,
have
but
you doubting every meaning you've amassed, like a fortune, throw it away. Yeah, I mean it's got a hard edge, man. This is coming right at somebody's being, right? I mean, essentially, and knowing the backstory, right? Definitely
mm-hmm.
seeing where he's making Lulu much more purposeful in what she's doing. It kind of seems to me here, like she's not so much the victim as the aggressor, right? I mean, I want to see you in a coffin, your soul shaking. Pain and evil have their place. I'll offer them to you as servants of the gold that you must give to me. Servants, pain and suffering, pain and evil, servants of the gold that you must give me.
Yeah. It's you don't see Lulu initially as really the aggressor.
No.
Because she's this beautiful young woman.
Right.
But ultimately, she is the destroyer.
She is, truly.
Literally destroying lives and sort of leaving this wake of death and destruction behind her.
Yeah. And she's going to take it all from you and leave you crippled and, well, dead.
And yeah, she'll take everything. She'll take.
So yeah, the only other thing now I'm kind of thinking is like perhaps like we were saying that maybe James is interjecting there with his vocal was an outside or an overarching theme. I'm thinking maybe it's the very dark side of Lulu coming through. I am the view, I am the table. So I'm all that you're looking at, and I'm all that's set up upon. Right. So I mean, that's kind of the way I'm like, what does that mean? I'm the table.
I don't think we know.
Putting it all on me.
I don't, maybe, but hopefully that'll become clearer to us as we move through the album. But yeah, what is this voice that James has?
Yeah, what's he bringing to it?
Well, I'm not. It's not clear at all. It's very vague what that represents at this point. The only thing I can think about the 10 is the 10 tracks, maybe the 10 stories, but. I don't know who James is in this lyric, this stanza of the I am the view, I am the table, I am the root. The progress, the aggressor.
Yeah.
I
am the table. I am the table.
I am the 10.
And I am these 10 stories. Yeah. It's all about me. And I think it's Lulu. I think we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Lulu definitely seems to be the character.
Something's developing there.
In the play that obviously everything is centered around, and she demands a lot of attention. Right?
Yeah.
With I am. She definitely demands to be the center. And so that does sound like Lulu, but I don't know. I think you were onto something with this being like a third voice in the mix here that James has brought in.
Well, we shall see, sir, as we continue on. So let's see if there's a little more music to round us out. I think there is. Sounds like two different chords. Do you hear that?
You want to back that up?
Yeah, let's see if I can. Whoops, went a little too far. Yeah, I went a little too far ahead. I guess I should be using Spotify to do this. That was brutality right there.
Very muscular.
Why did we re-listen to it?
I don't know. You thought you had a question about, I don't know if you were saying was there a key change that you were listening for?
Oh, it sounded like there were two chords being hit there at the end. It didn't sound the same. I didn't catch it the second time.
No.
No, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were talking about Neil Young, and
so this was with the last episode, Greg, right? You talked about the idea that this sounded a lot like what Neil Young was doing up against, where you had Neil Young. Now he was
not so much that it sounded a lot like
it,
but that Neil Young, who was known for maybe more of a different style, and has done a lot of different styles, but played with a very heavy rock band, Crazy Horse, and so there's some parallel to it. I don't know that it sounds like it.
Well, let's see. Of all the tunes that that you think might sound something like this, what one were you thinking of when we talked about this?
I don't know and the problem is Neil Young isn't really on Spotify anymore, so you can't really get the real
stuff.
To
say there's only one record and it doesn't look like, okay.
I don't think it's the right stuff.
All right, I know all these songs.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. All right.
See if we get some of that real heavy Crazy Horse jam going.
Yeah. Yeah, and so last episode, Greg, you were describing how these artists that were more folksy, maybe more, singer-songwriters, how they changed dramatically when they got in front of these big, crazy rock and roll bands, right?
Yeah, and I think we talked about
Dylan
playing, going electric, and then Neil Young, another sort of singer-songwriter, acoustic guitar player, certainly playing with Crosby, Stills and Nash, but also with Crazy Horse and a lot of others, I think.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we can hear what you
hear the band.
Let's hear. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot more melody than I heard in Brandenburg Gate. A similar vocal approach. I love it.
But it's a heavy sound.
It's definitely heavy. Definitely heavy. Compared to CSN, yeah. So I see what you're saying. Absolutely. When these guys were branching out, they were doing something really markedly different, with their home groups, right?
But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Neil is much more of a singer and a vocalist and melodic singer than Lou, so it's a different effect. But
yeah,
still, you put that Neil Young vocal on top of that Crazy Horse, heavy rock sound, and it's interesting. I mean, it's certainly effective. What Neil does with Crazy Horse is super effective and was very popular.
And they had a bunch of hits. As I was looking through the track listing, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that most of what I thought were the solo Neil Young tracks were actually Neil Young and Crazy Horse. And those are basically most of the songs that I attribute directly to him.
Yeah, and I don't know that's I think he did a lot of his songs both as an acoustic artist and with some other types of instrumentation and with Crazy Horse. So I don't know that you would necessarily attribute them one direction or the other, but there's versions of a lot of those hits that are with Crazy Horse that are popular. But you contrast that with like his song Harvest Moon, which is one of his super famous ones, which is completely different with a band, but in a totally different style, in the same way that most of what Lou was known for is clearly totally different style and than what he's doing with Metallica.
Agree. Well, Greg, It's been a
Yes.
great exploration here. Episode 2, we have done it. We've gotten through the second track. It was the single off the album. So I think we should discuss that for a second as a single. So I thought it was really interesting where we were. Let's go back now, right? So they cut out over 2 minutes.
Do we
And
know what they cut out? Do we know what they cut out, Chaz?
So we certainly saw from the beginning. Let's just go right here.
Did they do the instrumental section on the single?
I bet they did, because they needed to appeal to Metallica fans. They needed to let some people hear Metallica music. Let's see. I'm seeing a bunch of Metallica classic faces in their videos. The brooding looks through the eyelids and the screams and the gritted teeth, like toward the end. I'm seeing a lot of instrumental. I'm not seeing Lou. I don't know that we want to listen to the whole thing again. I'm looking at yeah. Let's see. It looks like Lou's getting nuts. Let's see what Lou does here.
Worship, worship. Pain and evil have their place sitting here beside me. I offer them to you as servants of the gold that you must give. Pain and evil have their place sitting here beside me, and I offer them to you as servants of the gold that you must give to me.
Okay, so nobody looks like they're having a whole lot of fun. That's amazing. Lou's kind of rubbing his face. His eyes are closed. He looks tired. Lars looks like he wants to eat. He just looks very hungry. James looked like somebody was hitting him with a cattle prod. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but okay. So what I was seeing wasn't necessarily matching.
They have an intense look about them.
They do have an intensity that they've always had, and this is Lars on a good day. What a picture. But yeah, it looks like, so they just kept with the heavier stuff. All that context about the worshiping the young, the angel sitting on the pin of lust, all that stuff. No, looks like they just kind of went right at the meteor.
So to your point about the single, right? So this is the single.
Yeah.
Do we think that this one is a little more accessible? Certainly it's much more accessible than the first track.
It is.
And
it may be the most accessible thing on the album, Greg. We don't know. I don't remember much. So I do remember. Yeah, I think the next song is what? I think the next song is Pumping Blood. I have a vague memory of Pumping Blood.